I worked on the plan until I fell asleep. I wrote it out step by step the next morning over breakfast. When Benny and I got on the bus, we sat close to the front. Not close enough that the bus driver could hear us, but close enough that Juanita wouldn't try anything. Juanita had missed one day, and I secretly hoped she'd miss another. It would give me time to perfect my plan. But when the bus pulled up to the curb and Juanita stopped, she was standing there. I felt a twinge of terror I'd felt the previous night, but I remembered Grandpa's words. I took a few deep breaths, and that helped. Or maybe it just made me lightheaded. The door opened, and Juanita Johnson, a supervillain, climbed onto the bus. Her slim frame made her look almost frail. She had olive skin and dark curly hair. Her brown eyes could twinkle and dance when she talked with a friend. And they turned to daggers when she looked at me or Benny. I glanced casually out the window, trying to appear disinterested, pretending I didn't know that she could turn invisible or shock me or pick me up and throw me out the window of the bus. I took another deep breath. "Stay calm," I whispered to Benny, although he already looked completely calm. Juanita made her way through the sea of green seats towards us. "She's coming this way?" "Well, when you think about it, it's the only way she can come," Benny said. "It's not like the bus is a maze or anything." Juanita walked past, and for a moment I thought she'd ignore us. But then she was there, leaning right over my shoulder. She said 4 words in a voice that was low and dripping with venom. 4 words that sent a chill through my stomach. "Go ahead, try it." And then she was gone. For a moment, I thought she'd disappeared. Then she used her superpowers to vanish. I braced for an attack. Nothing happened. I stole a glance over my shoulder. Juanita sat alone at the back of the bus. She stared out the window. Benny whispered in my ear, "For somebody who got every power in the book, she doesn't look very happy." "She's a Johnson," I said, shaking my fist. Then I lowered my voice. Villains are never happy. I faced forward in my seat. "Are you ready?" I asked. "Ready for what?" Benny asked. "I've got a plan," I said. "We're going to find out how the Johnsons took our powers." Benny grinned. "Let's do it right now. Here, on the bus." I shook my head. "Not on the bus. We wouldn't be able to talk. The trick is to be in public place without anybody being able to overhear. Let me show you." I pulled out my notes and a map of the school, spreading them out on my leg. "Okay, at lunch, you and I will meet up there at the library. Got it?" Why the library?" Benny asked. "The library is right next to the cafeteria," I explained. "Nobody hangs out in the library, but the librarian will be there, and that should be enough to keep Juanita from attacking, but still allow us to talk to her in private." Benny nodded. "But how do we get Juanita in the library?" "Rodney has all of the Johnsons' phone numbers. We're going to hide over there, here, deep in the stacks." I pointed to the section of my map that had all the bookcases. "Once we're in place, I'll tell Rodney to send the text message to Juanita. He'll tell her to go to the library. He said he can mask it so we won't see who it's from. Once she's in the library, we'll confront her and find out her family stole our powers. Does that make sense?" "Got it," Benny said. Although I'd wish I'd brought a pair of suspenders. "Suspenders, Benny? What are you talking about?" "I have a hard time talking to girls," Benny said. "I never know what to do with my hands. If I had suspenders, I could hold my thumbs under the straps." "Juanita's not a girl," I said. "She's a supervillain." I went over the plan again, just to be sure. When the bus stopped in front of the school, we piled out of the bus. Benny and I spent a few minutes standing in the snow outside the front doors, in full view of at least a dozen kids. Juanita got off the bus, and without giving Benny or me a second glance, she walked inside. The bell rang, so we split up. My first class, history, usually crawled by. All my teacher did was stand in front of the class and tell us how miserable life was in certain points of history. He'd say things like, "You think cleaning the toilet is rough? Try emptying a chamber pot." But on that day, history was over before I knew it. The bell rang, and I had to leave. I paused at the door outside algebra. Juanita sat at her desk at the back toward me, waiting. My teacher was nowhere in sight. That was strange. "I believe you're late," a voice said behind me. I turned and had to look up. Way up, a tall, slim man with a balding head and a bow tie towered over me. The man was old, probably 60 or more. He hunched over a little, reminding me of a gorilla. I said. "My teacher isn't here yet. I was just going in." "Your teacher is here," said the gorilla man. "I'm your new teacher. Your old teacher let's just say he found other things to do." Something wasn't right. I went in and sat at my desk. The man walked to the front of the class. Juanita turned in her seat and stared at me. I couldn't read her face. She looked at me as if she was waiting for something. I returned her gaze until she finally turned back to the front of the classroom. I felt dizzy. The new teacher picked up a ruler and a piece of chalk. He slapped the ruler against the desktop with a crack. "Quiet, class." His voice was loud and clear. "I'll be your teacher for the rest of the year. Mr. Richer won't be back. Allow me to introduce myself." The teacher went to the board and wrote his name. I felt my throat tighten. Every time I thought things could stink any lower, the universe seemed to slap me upside the head and say, "You ain't seen nothing yet, Buster." The man turned and looked directly at me. "My name is Nicholas, but you can call me Mr. Johnson."